Okay, we're going to be looking at this handout, which is the area and perimeter with variables, meaning that the side lengths of each of these figures are going to have a variable in some way, meaning that they could get bigger or smaller depending on what x is, right? So if x were 1, each of these side lengths would be 4, but if x were 2, each of these side lengths would be 8, okay? And we know how to find perimeter. To find perimeter, we can just add all the sides up. Right, so that means that in this case, we would just be adding 4x plus 4x plus 4x. And because these are like terms, that means I'm just going to do 4 plus 4 plus 4, add the coefficients, and I get 12x. To find the area of this, I can do base times height divided by 2. So my base in this case would be 4x, and my height in this problem would be 6. So that would be 4x times 6 divided by 2. Order of operations would tell me to multiply 4x times 6 first, which would be 24x, and then divide 24 by 2, turning the area into 12x. It is rare that your area and your perimeters will be the same, but occasionally it does happen. Okay, the perimeter of a rectangle is also where you want to add all the sides. So that's going to be x plus 6 plus 10. And then, of course, opposite sides are the same length, so that's another x plus 6 and another 10. So we have x plus x, my like terms here, that's 2x. And then 6 plus 10 is 16, plus 16 more makes 32. All right. And if I want to find the area of this rectangle, it's going to be base times height. My base is x plus 6 right here. And my height is 10 right here. So this is base times height. And I can just distribute here. 10 times x is 10x, and 10 times 6 is plus 60, making my area 10x plus 60. Pretty easy. Okay. My perimeter for this parallelogram is, again, just to add all the sides. So that's going to be x plus 1 plus 2x plus 5. Remember, with a parallelogram, opposite sides are equal, so I can add another x plus 1 and add another 2x plus 5. And then I'm just going to combine like terms. And so that's going to be x plus 2x is 3x, plus x is 4x, plus 2x is 6x. And then add the numbers. 1 plus 5 is 6. 6 plus 1 is 7. Plus 5 more makes 12. So 6x plus 12 is the perimeter in this case. And my area is, again, just base times height for a parallelogram. So in this case, my base is 2x plus 5. And my height is 2. So base times height. And then I can just multiply. And my area is 4x plus 10. All right, for a trapezoid, I can, again, just add all the sides. Oops. And so I'm looking at 4x plus 5x plus 1. So 4x plus 5x plus 1 plus 4x plus 3x plus 6. Allowing me to add, so that's 4x and 5x is 9x, plus 4x is 13x, plus 3x is 16x. Remember, this is a video, so if I'm going too fast for you, just pause it, make sure that you understand where each one of these numbers is coming from. Okay, so my perimeter for this figure is 16x plus 7. My area formula for a trapezoid is to add the bases together and then multiply times the height and then divide by 2. So in a trapezoid, we're going to consider the bottom base, base 1, and the top base, base 2, and then this right here was going to be the height. So I'm going to add base 1, which is 5x plus 1, to base 2, and then multiply times the height and divide by 2. So if I add in here, I end up with 8x plus 7. 5x and 3x for 8x. 1 plus 6 is 7. Times 5 divided by 2. So remember, add the bases, then multiply times the height. So that's going to be 40x plus 35 over 2. And then I can divide each piece by 2. So my area becomes 20x plus 17.5. So I'm dividing 40 and 35 by 2, both. And then the circle. To find the perimeter, which we call circumference with a circle, it's going to be the diameter times pi. And remember, we can just leave pi in the formula. And so we're going to come over here and say, all right, well, we know diameter, so my circumference is just going to be my diameter of 8x times pi. Right? So we can just leave this as 8x pi, or pi 8x, or 8 pi x, because it's multiplication, it's commutative, and you can write these three things in any order. And you could multiply 8 times pi and turn it into 25.12, but you don't have to. This is considered an exact answer. To find the area of a circle, not C, but A, we take radius squared and then multiply that times pi. So we have to come over here and find the radius, which is going to be half the diameter. So 8x divided by 2, which is 4x. Remember, radius can be found by taking the diameter and dividing by 2. So my area is going to be 4x squared times pi. Remember, we took half of it to make radius. And that is 4x times pi, because that's how you square something, multiply by itself. 4 times 4 is 16, and x times x is x squared pi. And that's your answer. You can multiply 16 times pi and get 50.1 or so, but it is not necessary. This, again, is considered an exact answer. Okay, the next thing I wanted you to look at was taking those formulas that we found. So I found in this case, for this particular triangle, that the perimeter and the area were both 12x. Okay, so it says solve for x if the perimeter, which again we found to be 12x, that means is equal to 48. So I can just solve this little equation, one-step equation, and I get 4. So what that tells me is if I come over here and plug 4 in for x and add them all up, I would get 48. So that makes sense, right? Because 4 times 4 is 16, and 16 plus 16 plus 16 is 48. So each one of these problems are going to be worked the same way. In this case, I want to take area, which again we found was 12x, and set it equal to 96, and divide by 12, and x is going to be 8. So if I were to plug 8 in, 4 times 8 is 32, and do base times height and divide by 2, I would get 96. Okay, so each one of these is very similar to that. The next question is with this rectangle that we looked at. Okay, so it says solve for x if the perimeter, which we found to be 2x plus 32, is equal to 40. And then we can just solve this. So subtract 32 on each side. And you get 2x is equal to 8. And then you can divide by 2. And x is equal to 4. Next one says if the area is 120. So we found the area formula to be 10x plus 60 is equal 120. Then we can subtract 60 from each side and get 10x is equal to 60. And then divide by 10 and get x is equal to 6. Okay, the remainder of this worksheet was homework. So good luck, and I hope this video helped.